Oi oi, it's Lord Lav. In this video, I'm going to show you how I put what I called a Pete Rock type beat together. Only reason I call it a Pete Rock type beat really is just because I decided I wanted to sample some sort of saxophone sound, and I associate a lot of horn sounds and horn samples with Pete Rock type production. Pete Rock is a legend. One of the most important hip-hop producers ever, huge influence on me, huge influence on tons of other people, and yeah, if ever you want to think about how you'd go about sampling horns and stuff, then he's your boy. But yeah, this is sort of a light influence based off the back of that, and yeah, it's just a funky hip-hop type beat, which I just wanted to play around with, because I've not actually done too many stuff that's got direct, like, horns and just being able to chop and play about with horns like that. So yeah, hope you enjoy it. Check it out. Okay, so let's show you how I put this track together from the beginning. I actually used a sample in this song. I'm not adverse to sampling. I started off making samples. In fact, you know, some of my tracks, if you watch me make, I've actually, even when I've been using my own stuff, it's kind of still been using a sample-based mentality, where I'll just create something that I actually want to treat as a sample and chop up like a sample. So I've done this. This is, again, a real hip-hop track. But yeah, I started off, I went to, if you know about sampling, often it can be a nonsense, because you technically are supposed to clear everything you sample unless what you choose to sample is royalty free or classed as being in the public domain. Now, there are places you can go, like I'm going to be doing sample packs so that producers can use it to use in their own music, so they don't have to worry about sample clearance. They just buy the thing and it's all there. Now, this is where this website comes into the conversation. It's a Converse sample library. Actually a really good website full of samples that you can just use. You can just lift off for free, and you can use in your own productions however you want. They literally just give it away all for free, which is sick, and fair play to them. It does say ideally if you credit the people you take the samples from, which is where this comes in. There is one particular sample I was using. I was in the jazz, sax and bass section, and there's one particular sample I used, which is this one right here. So big up to this guy, Timo whatever, but this is a sample I used. See that one more time. That little sample is the thing I used to start off this whole thing, so you'll see how I go from there. I've got the sample again here. You can zoom in just to see that, just to hear it a second time. That's it there. Now, I took that sample and put it into Serato Sample, which I have to say is a pretty solid piece of software. And I had the sample here, and I chopped it into different chunks, and you can see how they'll play out on here. So rather than me just playing that sample out fully, it's got a bit more to it, so you can hear it on loop. That changes the melody completely, and I didn't just do that, I also dropped it down a couple of keys. So it's on B flat minor, drops it down to B flat, and that's how it sounds like this. Sounds better now to me. That makes all the difference. And what's cool about Serato Sample is it just switches it into the right. I've got this down to like 97 BPM, and it just fits on that perfectly. I think the beat was originally something like 128 BPM, so it just time stretches the sample spot on without having to deal with any of the extra faff, which is good. We like that. So this is where a little bit of music knowledge can go a long way. I've taken exactly the same sample, exactly the same chop, so it's playing exactly the same melody. I've just pitched it at different pitches. So as you saw earlier, this one here is you know, I dropped it down to a B minor, so I dropped it down 4 semitones. This one has been that's pitched up from where it was, so that's just that's an E minor. And you notice E to E, if you know your music theory, E minor to B minor, that's basically up by a fifth. And then you've got G minor here, which you can see, and that's down by a fourth, and that's 8 semitones down from where it was, and that basically makes like a mad triad type sound, and it just sounds good just with those horns all playing at the same time. So you can hear this here with this on. It sounds harmonious. And if you hear them all at the same time, this is where it starts to sound sick. Nice low tone there. And I can't wait to throw on some drums on that. And I've knocked together some funky little drums, which is just actually one of the drum kits that you can get on Battery 4 Soul Key kit, or however you pronounce it. But yeah, it's cool. The only thing I've done kind of additionally is I've made it like a multi-output instrument, and you can see I've separated the clap. So there's a clap coming on both the left and primarily on the left and the right channel, so they're just panned basically to give them a bit more funk, shall we say. Let's just hear that a little bit better here. Take that kit away, you can just hear it now. That just makes all the difference, just gives it a bit more depth and makes the drum sound a bit more interesting with the claps coming from different sides. You can see I've panned it there to the left and right. But all the drums put together sound like this. Real loose, I haven't quantized a lot of the sounds on there. Take these off. Added some channel EQ in there and some like reverb and space. Another thing I've done is add a dark bass line on here, which you can see here. Oh, wrong one. Let's try that. You can see the notes here. Zoom out a little bit. Can we do that? No, we can't. We'll just have to look at it like this, because get off. Everything else thrown in. It's always nice to, even when you've got a real simple basic riff you're playing, it helps if you try and vary it. So you did hear like there's one note that's finishes quite low and there's another note that finishes up. Just real subtle bits like that can make all the difference, even when you're taking like very short, what is that, like a 4-bar loop, something like that. Yeah, you do it, short 4-bar loop. You just try and keep it varied, even when you're using like 2 to 4-bar loops. Just something to be aware of whenever you're coming up with your own riffs and stuff. tiny variations can make all the difference. On top of the bass and everything else, there is a like warm stock plug-in I've used, just these warm kind of it's called warm glow chords, whatever that is. But yeah, just some nice sounding chords that are already there. I didn't really have to play with too much. You can just hear like this. Notice I've tried to vary the riff a little bit as well, similar to the bass line, and with everything else sounds like this. Basically, to finish off the track, all I've done is take the same sample, the same sax sample I used from the beginning, but changed up the melody by chopping it up a little bit different and actually pitching it up. Well, it's pitched up 13 semitones, but that makes, from a music theory perspective, that means it's basically an octave higher than this one here. So it will still fit. And it's, you know, it's just it just sounds like a mad kind of chopped up sax solo. Not as good as like Matey, who actually recorded it with his little sax solo or whatever. But it's kind of not supposed to be. I want it to be a bit rough, and I want it to be a bit sampled, and gives it a bit of authenticism in authenticism gives it a bit of authenticity in, to my mind anyway, when it's like that. But you can hear what it sounds like and how the chops are different from the original. Yeah, so it's a bit mad, but I don't mind. This is what it sounds like with all the other bits added on. And that's just going to act as like a chorus type section. Yeah, so that pretty much covers it. Okay, I've pretty much put together and structured this beat. I'm pretty happy with it. Is you can see there are slight changes where I put breaks in the drums and breaks in the horns and stuff. There is one thing you should probably note, which I should have said to you actually way at the very beginning when I was putting this track together. When it came to putting these horns together, I didn't just play the horns as they were, like layered on top of each other. I've actually done some panning on each the horns, each the sax sounds, just so it breaks up the sound. You probably would have heard that anyway, but it's just a couple of bits. So yeah, I just panned them left and right 20 and left sort of the lower one right in the middle, because that's acting more as a bass line. So that's just something you should keep aware of. Like whenever you're laying stuff on top, if you want the mix to sound better, you want to look at trying to pan stuff just to make it sound a bit more interesting. So you'll hear that as it comes through. It's just something I should have noted at the beginning when I put I showed you I was putting the beat together. But I'm letting you know now. But this is a track. I hope you enjoy it. I'll be putting it up later on, and eventually we'll put it on BeatStars and all of that stuff too. But here it is. hope you enjoyed this video showing how I put this beat together. I will be putting this beat up on YouTube and SoundCloud later on, and I'll also be putting it up on BeatStars eventually, so keep an eye out for that. If you did like this video, make sure you give it a like. It does help the video quite a bit. And make sure you subscribe to me and click on the bell icon so you get notifications whenever I put up a new video. Going to be putting up plenty of other videos like this, not to mention other beats and whatnot. Also, consider supporting me on Patreon. There'll be a link in the description about that. Don't forget to check me out on Spotify and check out my website, www.lordlav.com. Hope you enjoyed this, guys. More stuff to come. Just keep enjoying life and enjoying music and living the life. And that is it from me for now. Peace.